What's up guys, Lifting here. This week I have some pretty interesting builds to show you guys, and so without further ado, let's get right to it. And as always, you can find a link to each individual build guide in the description below. Build number 1 on the list is by GornoDD, and it isn't the first time I feature one of his builds in one of my videos. This one is a Fire/Chaos Magma Orb Inquisitor. The build makes use of the fairly new Gloomfang amulet, which not only provides you with Chaos Life Leech and +1 to chain, it also makes it so that Magma Orb, in this case, gains 20% of non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage per chain. A level 21 Magma Orb chains 3 times, and with the amulet, it is now 4 times, leading to a pretty significant damage boost by itself. Besides this, a Carcass Jack, the new Windshriek Prophecy Boots, and an Elder Ring with Warlord's Mark on hit is recommended. As a matter of fact, I believe Gorno says that the Warlord's Mark on hit ring is what makes the build come alive, so to speak. The build defenses revolve around evasion and mind over matter, and while this is a rather atypical combination, it makes good sense with the evasion preventing your mana pool from getting dropped too fast by filtering out some of the incoming attacks that would otherwise have had to have been absorbed by your mana. With this build you'll have great single target damage as well as good clear speed. The build is for the most part rather budget friendly, but Gorno emphasizes that it requires you to fully read the guide, as there are a few mechanics that needs explaining, especially if you're new to the game. I'll warn against playing this build if you suffer from epilepsy or in general just value your eyes. Build number 2 on the list is by Voldo, and it is his Detonate Dead Trapper Saboteur. Now Detonate Dead got some significant buffs last league, and if you pair that with trap multipliers, you can get some pretty serious damage. And with the way Voldo is doing it, it seems to work on a budget too. The build uses the Tinkerskin Garb for tons of trap utility together with the newly prophesized Maya Bow Staff for an easy and very cheap 6-link. And in Voldo's own words, this is a great budget league starter with a unique approach to the game with both great damage and defensive capabilities. The build can deal with any map content and some of the Guardians, and maybe even more, but I'm unsure if Voldo has attempted this. I wanted to feature this build because I like the idea and its implementation of some of the new unique items Voldo uses. Also, we don't see too many trap builds anymore, so I thought this might be interesting for you guys. However, as Voldo also says in his guide, there are lots of improvements still to be made to the gear of the build, but with that in mind, it's still worth a view and maybe it will inspire you. Coming up third on the list is by Shepuuurd. This time he has made a Poison Molten Strike Assassin build. The idea here is to use Molten Strike, which in itself already is an amazing skill, and then pair it with the poison mechanic and the assassin ascendancy Noxious, which grants critical strike chains, but also more importantly poison duration for each poison applied recently. When combined, you end up with tons of hits from the many molten balls, greatly increasing the duration of the poisons on the enemy, which indirectly is a huge damage boost. To make further uses of the many hits of Molten Strike, the build also makes good use of a high amount of life gained on hit via the Wasp's Nest Claw and the Thief's Torment Ring, providing an excellent form of defense. To prevent the enemy from evading your attacks, Shepuuurd also uses the Lycosidae Shield, Corralito's Flask as an efficient way to gain Perfect Agony, and the new Venomous Weave Gloves primarily for the hinder debuff and damage bonus. The build can be rather hard on your PC performance, so if you aren't exactly playing on a modern computer, then beware. The fourth build on the list is a lightning focused Blade Flurry Raider made by DVS Morph. The build utilizes the Heian's Fury Sword, which provides a high amount of flat damage together with extra lightning damage per frenzy charge at the cost of you being more vulnerable per frenzy too. On top of this, Inpulsa's Broken Heart provides lightning explosions that helps with the clear, while also making you unaffected by shock and adding a decent damage boost if you've shocked an enemy recently, which to be fair, you'll be doing all the time with this setup. Once again, the Lyco shield is used to help with accuracy, the Dark Ray boots for additional frenzy charges and dodge chains, and the Impressions amulet to nullify the mana cost of the Blasphemy conductivity setup. The build is supposedly able to take on all the Guardians and the Shaper. If you're familiar with the game, the forum guide probably contains all the info you're gonna need. But if you're new, you might want to try something else, as the forum post isn't exactly holding your hand, so to speak. The fifth and final build on this week's list is by SimpleSim45, and it is his Hungry Loop Death's Oath Occultist. And this one is a funny one, very original in design. The build uses the Hungry Loop ring, which works by consuming and then eliciting level 20 support gems. It can consume a maximum of 4 supports, which is then linked to a relevant active skill gem, in this case Blade Vortex. This makes the ring an effective 5-link. On top of this, SimpleSim also makes use of the Death's Oath armor, which grants the Death Aura skill, an ability that deals chaos damage around you, similar in style to how Righteous Fire deals fire damage around you, but in this case at the cost of taking 450 chaos damage per 3 seconds on kill. To increase damage and area of effect, a couple of the Breath of the Council maces are used, the Telepathy gloves to provide a powerful hinder effect via blights, and the chaos version of the Impressions amulet, which in this case reduces 100% of the mana reservation of the Blasphemy and Despair setup. With this build you'll have something very original, you'll have a great map farmer, and you'll be able to take on most of the bosses. Oh, and another cool thing about Death's Oath that you might like is that it does not need to be linked in order for your support gems to affect the Death Aura skill. This means you don't have to sacrifice a ton of fusings, and you can instead use that currency for your other upgrades. And the same thing applies to the Telepathy gloves, but that is of course of less consequence since it's a 4-link, right? But there's a lot of currency to be saved here. And so those were the builds I wanted to show you this week, guys. If you like this type of content, remember to subscribe to the channel. I release these types of videos once every week. So if you need build inspiration, then you now know where to find it. Also, make sure to visit our Discord channel. We have a dedicated section to help people out with Path of Exile questions, build reviews, etc. I have a Patreon set up if you're feeling generous. And finally, I stream pretty much daily on Twitch, so if you have any questions or just want to say hi or see the builds in live action, then come visit me there. I'd appreciate that. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?